Hey, boys and girls, how you guys doing? This is Rick coming to you from sunny Key West, Florida, with another part of the Bible Tales. We got to finish up Daniel. All right, it's a wonderful little story. And for you guys that are brand new, never been to this channel before, and we get a lot of people that just stop in, maybe listen for a few minutes, find this ain't their cup of tea. But basically, what we're serving up here is some truth, and what it is we teach of what's called the spirit of the Bible, which is, unbeknownst to many people, is the second way that we are told in the Bible to read it by. All right, but we have what we see in the world and the words that we see in the Bible. A good number of people cling right to that word, and that's it. You can't change it, can't do anything with it. But that word also represents the seed, all right? Or that word actually has well, the word seed, when they're planting the seed, they're talking about, has a spiritual side to it. So it has a plate, something that you see, it's something physical, which is the word itself. But woven within that word is also what's called the spirit. And that's done through symbolism and words and numbers. And once you find that key to those numbers, then you can find out what the spirit's saying. All right. Because a great number of times what you hear is, for those with the ears to hear, let them hear. And those with the eyes to see, let them see. They're actually you're not supposed to be looking at what you see, and you're not supposed to be hearing what you're hearing. You're supposed to key in on certain things that you can see and certain things that you can hear, and this reveals the spiritual side of the Bible. Now, I ain't no nut, ain't no flake. I didn't even make this up, but I did. I was coerced into going along this way to find out just what was going on, because that's what I've been wanting to do all my life, is to find a better way, believe it or not, to view or to tell the Bible, to talk of the Bible, to speak of it. And of course, there's only one way. Just read the damn thing, is what I've heard all my life. But I was like, there's got to be something else to it. There just has to be, And in my older years, I'm in my mid 50s now and stuff like that. Now it dawns on me, But I sought this direction. I sought this way for a good long time. And in our Bible, as we reveal that becomes the works. So, God, this God of ours, not only delivers us, remember, in most of the stories, he delivers us into our enemy's hands. He just hands us over. And the story of Daniel is no different, all right? Because he has been delivered. But at the same time, this idea that when you have had enough of the outside, when you've had enough, got your fill of it, this inside somehow or another is revealed to you. And that inside part saves us. So they say it's this combination of being separate from God. Being separated from God means that he's not with you. And the book of Daniel is a book that tells you this. Well, all the books say this. They do. They absolutely do. Daniel comes out as from the beginning as he is one of the spoils after Nebuchadnezzar sacks Jerusalem, okay, the holy city. And so he represents something good that he brought out of this, but it is a part of him. But what we find out is that everybody in the story is really representing one person, and that one person is his family, is his wife, is his brother, is his sister. These are all different parts of your body, different things, desires, and your wants, and just things like that. Your the anger in you and the love in you. All of these are facets of yourself that are wind up being family members. This is within the group, within the family. And it's just really beautiful that when you can see the spiritual side of this Bible, it's just so much easier to understand. Things make so much better sense. And God comes out on the heavy as not the heavy, but as he's the good guy. He winds up being, a combination of two things. All right, and not just what we find from the outside. The Father all alone cannot do anything. We represent the Father, and this is one of the hardest concepts for people to understand: is that we are the Father, we are the Son, and we house the Holy Ghost. We house her. This is the third phase, or the third part of this. We house this beautiful side of us, which is called Jerusalem, which is above, that is free. She is the mother of us all. This is referencing the right side of our mind. And that's all the Bible is talking about, is these electrical things that we don't see because it's a spiritual book. So it's talking about things we don't see. So you woven into the outside of those stories is this beautiful path called the way. And it's called sowing the seed, because you learn how to actually sow this seed, which is the child, bring this child alive. The Kundalini is a major source of this movement, which is on the spine, representing 33, and the Jesus. This is Jesus rising, and stuff like that. And so, yes, it's symbolism. All right, it has nothing to do with anything physical or real, but they do represent things that are real and happen in our inside of us, in our mind, and our minds work. I mean, it's just that simple. So it takes some thinking, but all it means is this change of mind. And that's what we've been getting into lately with these stories, is that the number 4 is about how to change your mind. And in this story of Daniel that we have here, that we've been going, I still owe 6 to 12, all right? But to catch you up on it, is that Nebuchadnezzar brought these guys out of, the sacks, the spoils of heaven, and he really just got one. But this one guy represents 4 things, 4 worlds, because this is the fourfold nature of man. And so we have Daniel and his 3 compadres. And his 3 compadres were figured out in the way that we talked about in the last chapter, or the last video, with the 4 worlds. So they also represent the 4 kingdoms. They actually represent the 4 beasts, but all these 4 represent one. You, and you're either going to be on the favorable side, which is on God's side, and righteous and everything like that, and everything lines up beautiful, or you're going to be on the other side. Well, come find out that I couldn't tell you what the percentage is, but I would say it's close to 90% of the people that live on earth are on the darker side, the without. All right, it's the way it comes in. And the story of Daniel tells you that. It says that this is what they've done in order for you to gain an understanding that God is in control of man, But he'll let you go crazy, let you go and do your thing until this particular end of time. And when this end of time comes, then you rest. Then it's over. But until then, God is not with you. He's left the building. And that's what these stories are talking about. Nebuchadnezzar, this king, represents the outside. He sacks the holy city, and he takes some of the things, the implements from the temple, and those would be things that you drink from. Which in other parts of the story later on with Jacob, you'll find that that's what God sips from his cup, and the cup represents you. You are the vessel. You are the vessel which God sifts, does all this business. It's through you. It's through you, not from some outside source. And so with this, that means that built into us is Daniel. And Daniel is there to call on to answer some of your questions when you have. So the only people that get to go on this other side, like when he gets stoned, the first business, they kind of they make some decree. There's supposed to be some kind of statue that Nebuchadnezzar makes, and he wants everyone to worship this thing. Every time I heard these musical notes and stuff like that, and they found there was 3 in the whole kingdom that didn't do that, and those were those 3 that worship God with the oneness, and we're not going to have any part of it whatsoever. So they get tossed into the fire. Well, all these outside people, the captains and all these things, are representing the chakra, which is outside, which doesn't take you into or over the 6th chakra. It just takes you to this place and you stop. That's it. So they come to the mouth of the furnace. They said, heat the furnace up 7 times this morning. They go and toss these guys in. And the people that are tossing, doing the tossing, burn up and disappear, and so that's how hot the business is. So the thing is that only those people from Judah can go over and take the heat because they're connected with God. God's going to deliver them out of the hand of this dude, all right, out of the hand of Nebuchadnezzar. The hand is a big part of this. The hand is most important because this is how you kind of summon the Lord, all right? So how you go by joining the 2 different sides. Well, anyways, we end up out of these stories, we end up with these outside guys still staying on the outside, but they're looking for these inside guys to get them on the inside. They want to help them out. But something stands in their way. There's a king of Persia gets in the way of some people. I don't know, maybe I got the wrong king in there, but everything will deceive you. There's a particular point in this book where let me see if we can take it back. Let's go back to these dreams. All right, they have a series of dreams that Daniel talks about, and these dreams talk about, at one time this guy was really strong and blah 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 and such. But then they chopped him down and made him nothing, made him eat like grass. So he was taken into the lower. He was given an animal heart and stuff like that, and he had to learn to eat like the beast of the fields and stuff like that. So this is this is the fallen angels. This is all of us taken lower, and so. That's how all these stories really are representing the same run of things. But to be chopped down and have to start all over again, and and the way that particular chapter winds up is that he regains, is restored at the end of his lifetime, at the end of time. So end of times is this idea, in these monsters that we wind up seeing. On the fourth one talks about trampling. They always are like shattering and breaking and go and eat things. It got teeth of irons, and they break things. Even in the story with the lions, that as we get moving, we would find. Let me see if I got it right yet. Oh, yeah, so this is the starting of chapter 6. This is the same idea. They couldn't find any fault in Daniel. And somehow or another, this 6, because we're talking about 6, we're talking about the chakra system, the captains and the princes and the this and the that, were like got together and said, we got to find some way to screw this guy up, They tried to do it with the last group, with the 3, couldn't do it. So anyways, we get this new group, all right? And these guys are saying, well, we're the rulers, we're the presidents of all these places. And so they go before the king and they said, let's make up some kind of decree that no one can talk to any god anywhere from anyone, any kind of god for like 30 days. And so and also make a decree that we can't go back on anything. You have to go this way. It's the way you go. So this winds up being a trick. You have to understand, because it's they're trying to trick some inheritance from someone. So what they do is everybody in the kingdom does what he says, except for Daniel, who's caught praying to his God, and they said he does it 3 times a day. Oh, wow. Well, anyways, This makes the king sore mad because he was hoping that he could get this man to deliver him. Just goddamn. So, anyways, he says, your God will save you. This is what he says on the 6th. He throws this guy into the fire. This is on the 6th, all right? Let me see. Let's see if I got it right. Here, and I'm going to X you down. I'm going to use the real stuff, King James Bible, to tell you the stories. We're at 6. I'm going to just highlight a few things because we want to get through all of this as fast as possible. All right, so the heads and the presidents, they were 120 people. So you can see that this is the 2 chakras, the 2 sixes. So they're the heads of all these things. And so it really comes down to 12. And of course, 12 is 3. And if you use these things, you can meet up with God. But right now, they're just being numbered. All right, is all it is. All right, so it looks as though they're out to try to trip him up some. All right, so we get down to the 13th regarding, what is the 13? Let's keep on going here. 13. Then answered they that stood before the king that Daniel, which is one of the children in captivity of Judah, regardeth not the king. O king, nor the decree that was signed, maketh his petition 3 times a day. Well, this is when it was brought to his attention that this guy is not doing what you decreed. And so the king commanded, this is number 7, the king commanded that they brought Daniel and cast him into the den of lions. And the king spoke unto Daniel, thy God, whom thou servest continually, will deliver thee. So, this guy really believed in Daniel. He really did, but, he wasn't connected. But anyhow, the way it works is we get 17 as stone. A stone was brought. 17, this is the number 8. They brought the stone so they would keep this. Nothing could change this. He sealed it. This is what 8 means, is control, is that when you come into this, and remember, he's looking from the outside. Well, actually, what he does is he goes back to his palace and he goes through a sleepless night. So this is him going through this little motions, but his servant, which would be, Daniel, is going through this business for him. That's what our sidekick does, all right? So anyways, he wakes up in the morning, he rushes out there to go and see what happens and finds that nothing happened to him. But that's, again, that rock and that place between the den of lions becomes that 6th chakra, and where he was in the den of lions was where people that are connected to God would be, and people that are not connected to God are on the other side. So there's a physical side and the spiritual side being spoken of here. And let's see what else. It says, so the stone was moved and put on the front. So this is the 8th is idea. It's like 8 is control number, because this is what the whole thing about number, let's see, this 17. And the stone was brought and laid upon the mouth of the den. And the king sealed it with his own signet, with signet of his lords, that the purpose might not be changed concerning Daniel. So put a seal upon it, didn't want to have anything changed. Well, nothing did happen to him. All right, so what we have, so what happens is he winds up, the people that accused him of this were thrown in, and it was them plus their children and their wives were I guess their bones were all busted up, and then these things trotted on them, putting them in the lower situation. You have to understand is that they saved him, but they killed these people that were on the outside, the ones that accused him in the first place. Remember, you have to have an accuser. This is where you have to be betrayed in order for someone or something to go through this situation, like with Jesus. It's a betrayal. with Esau and Jacob. Jacob has to betray his brother. He has to betray the bad guy in order to take what he was going to take from him, or what he did take from him. You're getting it back. That's how these stories work. I hope you're seeing that. I hope you're getting something out of that. So when it all happens, this is that idea that that 6, because this trampled under the accusers of Daniel comes under the number 24. All right. So if we read 24, and the king commanded and brought those men which had accused Daniel and cast them into the den of lions, them, their children, their wives, and the lions had mastery over them and break their bones in pieces forever. They came at the bottom of the den. 24 represents 6. 6 is this idea of the last shock or the last piece. But this idea of breaking the bones means that there's no connection to God. Remember, from my bones is how this woman is made. How the woman is made for man. The go-to is made from the bone, and the bone of my bone and my bone. So the bones are done and trampled over, and it's on the 6. And so you would see that the word, or these words, the works, have to be trampled underfoot. The 40 days and 40 nights, they have to go about their business. They have to go about the works before that's the tromping. And so, during all this time of tromping, you're blaspheming the Lord, and you're being all these bad things, because even though you're following the letter of the Bible, and God tells, the religious people tell you don't change the word of it, or think of it in any other way, but all the time that it's telling you that God is this and God is that, God is not that. God was not these things. This is an outside thing, and we have to learn to talk, and we have to learn how to recognize God's dark language in order to get out of all this crap, and so, again, for you guys that are new, that's what I teach. I teach us how to read the dark language, what's hidden in our Bible. Oh, let's see here. What else is going to be cool with that? All right, so God winds up declaring, the king winds up declaring that everyone in his dominion has to learn how to fear God. All right? Fear the God of Daniel. Because he maketh, he delivereth, and he rescueth. He worketh sign. He delivered us into hard times, and he rescues us out of hard times. So you see the works that he makes us follow, the Father, drags us through the mud, and then later on it rescues us. The very same word, once you learn how to read the inside, it turns around and delivers you. It's the coolest stuff, you guys. And it's very smart. It's very smart. It's a wonder I haven't found it, So he delivers and he rescues, and he worketh signs and wonders in heaven and earth. All right. And that is the right side and the left side of our brains. So let's see. Let's go on to chapter 7 when we get this idea of the 4 beasts. All right. Let's see what we have here. Daniel spake, saw a vision in my 9, behold. Okay, so here we have this great sea. We have the 4 beasts. We've seen this sort of setup before. At the end of the Bible, with Revelations, we get the destruction and the restoration of this desolated place in our heads, the head wound. The grievous head wound is healed in the 6th, or at the end of the stories. But in this particular place, it is told that this winds up being the bear. I found out what the bear means, but anyways, let's get this going. 4 great beasts showed up from the sea, diverse from one another. All right. Now these 4, I'm going to look back here. These 4 are representing the 4-fold nature of men. All right. The intellect is the west, emotions is the north, physical is the south, and spiritual is the east. All right. That's how this are also the kingdoms. They're also the beasts. The first beast, the second beast, the third beast, and the 4th beast. This is all one person's mind. This is all the four different functions of the mind of man. All right. And so we're going to wind up with, at the end of the whole story, I'm going to give you a little foreshadowing. Our intellect, it comes out to being arms, just your arms. You're raising your arms. You're not doing anything with them spiritually. It's just a physical thing about your arms. Our emotions, the sanctuary of strength, is polluted. It's polluted with falseness and not truths. This is your emotional side. The physical side, the sacrifice, there's no more sacrifice. Remember, the sacrifice was removed. So there's no you in this picture to hand over to God as any kind of sacrifice whatsoever. So that when you're on this side, when you're on the outside, the part that kills, when you're doing the letter, you're without spirituality. The final part here is domination. I mean, abomination of desolation. There is nothing here. There's nothing to serve you. This doesn't get filled up until all the time of all these times are fulfilled. All right, you have to get your works done before this happens. You're without. You're absolutely without a spiritual side. That's how we get this. Is the spirit of the Bible talking to you. Okay. So, what do we get out of this? Oh, on number 4. Let's look at 4. Oh, number 4. The first was like a lion. It had eagle's wings. All right. What you're looking at is you're looking at the lion, which is representing the outside. This is the lion. Is the body, you himself, the person, and his wings were plucked off. That's not a good sign. That means you lost your dude. That means you lost the spiritual side of you. And I'm telling you, this is what is being told to us in the story. All right. And so he watched while he was there until he watched thereof that they were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth. All right. And then he saw that he was made to stand like a man and given a man's heart and given it. And behold, the second beast was like a bear, and it raised up on one side. It had 3 ribs in its mouth, and between it, it was said to arise and devour much flesh. Number 5 is our flesh. So, this is this idea that our flesh is defiled. It's the whole idea. And it's meant to eat you because you are dead. It's the idea of being consumed in all the, when the locusts come to take away all the light. Actually, to eat all the green, to eat what is live in you. And I beheld another like a leopard. This is 6. This means confusion for most people. This idea of this third thing becomes the leopard, which is the body part. And it just means that you are, it says dominion was given to it. So after this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. This beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. Remember, this is 6. This is the lower, or what we would say was the third kingdom. The third kingdom is the one that takes control. It's the one that has control over you. So it's the lower side of us that has control and dominion over us. Okay? And behold, the 4th was dreadful and terrible and strong and exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. This is number 7. Generally, this is something that was really good. But this one here winds up being great iron teeth, because it's to bust and to bust things and to break things. And then to stamp on things. All right. Remember, this is the idea that, we have to do our works. And it's us. We're the monster. We're the ones with the big iron teeth. And we are ones stomping the hell out of God. You have just stomping the hell out of our spiritual, and all at the same time saying amen and thank you, Father. That is just blasphemy. And it means what the Bible tells you. He says, you know, he delivers you, puts you right in the hands of the devil, and then takes around and pulls you right back out. You know, yeah, some friend, you know, but he does it for your own good, you know. All right, let's see what else is going to be cool in here. Uh, let's see, nine is a conscious number, so this is what happens on nine. This is what you find. And I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and in the ancient days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and whose hair was pure as wool, and the throne was like a fiery flame. All that's gone. He waited till the end. It's all gone. All right, and number 26. Let's see what number. We're just going to go on. It went on and talked about the bees, and like you can follow along on your own here, but you got the idea if you have been tuning your ear in on this. But what we get is, let's go to 15. Where's 15? I, Daniel, was grieved in my spirit in the midst of my body, and the visions of my head troubled me. This falls on number 16, and everyone knows where the mids are. He feels in the mids. This is the mid 6. He's in 6. He said, nobody's really getting over the 6 right here, right? And I came near unto one of them that stood by and asked the truth to all of this. And he told me, what else do we want to get? So, of these great beasts are 4 kings which shall rise from the earth. And the 4th beast, which is the most diverse of them all, exceedingly dreadful, whose teeth were of iron and nails of brass, which devour, break in pieces, and stamp the residue with his feet. The 10 horns were in his head, and one would come up. All of this business is about this idea that one day someone will wake up and fix this. All right. Let me see here. 23. The 4th kingdom upon the earth. All right. Let's see what that is. 22. In ancient days came, the judgment was given unto sin. 23. Thus he said, the 4th beast shall be the 4th kingdom upon earth, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down and break it in pieces. This is 3, 4, 5. So this is 23 represents 5. All right. 5 represents the body, and also being called the 4th beast. All right. This is our spiritual side. This is not such a great thing, you guys. This idea that breaks us down, this idea that it devours us. You have to understand that this is that idea that whenever when the men and defiled the women, the girls of men, the fallen angel story, all right, that they made children, and their children grew to be giants that turned around and destroyed them. That's what we're talking about right now. Destroyed them and ate them and brought them into this lower side. My God, it's just so beautifully written and so seamless in its construction. It's a work of art. It's absolutely beautiful, well-woven, beautiful story of, oh my goodness, it's actually like, it's like the blueprint for Earth. It's like, we are uncovering, wow, the most coolest stuff. And yet we only get like 4 or 5 people reading this, you know? It is the coolest stuff, you guys. Please, let's hold on, because this is we're still in just the 7th, all right? And he spake great works against the Most High. 5, 6, 7. So number 25, and he shall speak great words against the Most High. He'll swear by the saints of the Most High, and he'll be trying to change times and laws. And so you'll see that this is what the outside, this person, this thing, whatever, is going to be. It's going to try to go against the Most High. It's going to go against the saints. It's going to go against the laws. And it's going to happen until, and they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and the dividing of times. So times is meaning like, times would be like the 24 hours. So it'd be 24 hours and the 24 hours, and the dividing of times would be 30. So what does that come up to? What is, we get 60 out of that, right? 24, and then dividing of times is 60. That comes to a number. What does that number represent? Did I write it down? 60. So it comes down to 6. So it has 6 means is your time. You have to wait until the trotting is over. There's no real date. There's no time that everyone can get out of this situation. It's when when you've done the 6. It's when you have completed the 6, when you completed the works. And the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominion shall serve and obey him. Do you understand that something on the outside is going to control him? You have just given it all up. This is the way it works. And this is, at the end, we got here on 28. Where do we get it here? Takes away your dominion. That's number 26. But the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion to consume and to destroy it until the end. All right, so we know what the end is until the end, until you get to the 6. All right, but this number is number 26, 6, 7, 8. So it's 8. It's a control situation. This is what we are in when we get to the next one. The next chapter is chapter 8. 8 is a control number. So I guess it could be foreshadowing, but this is going to happen. This is the way it's going to be until the end comes. All right. So what do we get out of that? Let's go to the next one. Let's go to Daniel 8, which is a control. This is to show you that, hey, this guy, this lower conscience is in control. But it also might tell us a little bit, all right, little foreshadowing. So out of all of this, let's see, this guy is another dream. This is a dream from Daniel, where he's by a water source. He's all of these things, like when we come across Jonah, he's by a well. All these ideas is there already at this particular place. And so he's by this river, and they always name the rivers. And what we get is he sees a ram sitting there. It's got one horn a little bigger than the other horn, and the other one horn's bigger than the other on purpose. But anyway, he sees this thing, and it thrusts to the left, which would be perhaps the north. And then it goes to the south, and then it goes towards the east, or to the west. That's what it is. It's like, so whatever this ram is, or whatever this thing is like blocking things from going over to the other side. But he does notice that there is some kind of a little goat that shows up from the other side, and he has one horn in the middle of his head. And he comes and he runs at this ram, and he busts it, and the 2 horns shatter. And then the little monster, the little thing that doesn't touch the ground, remember, I think it would probably wind up, well, it winds up being us. It's one day somebody will grow up and he will bust that up. Then they'll take it from 2 horns, and then the 2 horns won't ever be there anymore. It becomes 1. So it's telling you what would happen. All right. So this is, so you wind up with being asked, because in the story, he doesn't really understand it. He saw it, but he didn't understand it. And so here's a guy who can interpret things, and he's needing an interpreter now. But at this particular time, he's losing control. He's losing God. This idea is that it's being taken from him and them. And so what we get is 13. 13 is he wants to know. All right, so on 8 becomes a control real fast. Therefore, the goat waxed very great, and when it was strong, the great horn was broken. and it came up for the 4 notable ones. So what happens is the one horns represent power. And so what you had first was a right side with the power and the left side with the power. And it was knocked down by one with one power. So, and this one power knocked out the 2. All right. And then later on in its life, it broke off. That means he lost his power. And so let's keep going. And he waxed great. But anyways, this is this whole idea that this thing stomped and trampled all over this ram. All right. Ram is that idea that we would sacrifice it. And here they've just been eaten up and trampled. But that represents the works. We keep hearing about something's got to eat them up and chomp them up and then stomp on them. And that, even like they had to, the group of people that followed Moses was in the desert for 40 days, 40 nights, So this is this idea that they had to change from one side to the other, and they never did. They didn't make it over, This promised land never really materialized for them. And it was because, they sinned against them in thought, word, and deed. And the idea is because they were made to be like this. They had to go through hell in order to get to this place. And no one really understands that even to this day. But you and I, you and a handful of people, So what's the next one? So he wanted to know how long it was going to last. So this is number 13. I heard one saint speaking to another saint and said, how long shall be the vision concerning the daily sacrifice and the transgression of desolation, to give both the sanctuary and the host to be trodden underfoot? He's wanting to know how long are we going to have to go without? How long? That's the idea of going without the sacrifice. How long are we going to have this desolation? And he said unto me, 2,300 days. And the sanctuary will be cleansed. So this is number 14. And he said unto me, unto 2,300 days. What is that? That's 2 and 3. When you can gather the 5 together, the sanctuary can be clean. This is also under 14. What number 14? Represents 5. When you can gather everyone together, this is that idea of bringing about the dry land. You're getting closer to it. And it came to pass when Daniel seen a vision and saw the meaning, the appearance of a man and a man's voice. Make this man understand the vision. This is number 7. Gabriel yells over, call to Gabriel. Make this man to understand the vision. So he came near and stood, and he touched him and made him stand up and stuff like that. Let's see, where are we at? We're still on 8. So 19 winds up being, and he said, behold, I will make thee know that shall be in the last, this will be the last of the indignations. For at that time appointed, the end shall be. This is a 10, or 19 becomes a 1. So it's beginning. And what he is saying is that when thee know that shall be the last of the end of the indignation, that means you now are going to be connected to God. You're going to wind up being on the side of God, and you'll no longer blaspheme his name because you've learned how to save yourself, and you've learned that by completing the works. So what do we get out of it? He says, let me see, where am I at? The time appointed, number 19. So we already know the time point. 19, where's we at? That's the time and times divided. All right, so let's keep moving. What happens here is, and no broken law stood up for kingdom to stand by the nation's power. This, where is it at? Number 23. Number 23 is very important. And in the latter time of their kingdom, When the transgressors are come to the full, a king of fierce countenance and understanding dark sentences shall stand up. You guys, I'd like to shake your hand here. I've learned how to read these dark sentences, and I have learned to stand up and then teach you guys this idea. I'm this fierce king. I'm this one-eyed dude that just smashed into those things and going to make one out of stuff. But that's what that little horn is, all right? And through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, shall magnify himself and his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. Peace means truth. By the truth shall destroy many. And it's just terrible because it says here, he shall also stand up against the prince of princesses, but he shall be broken without hand. All right, so he can stand up before the prince of princes, but he will be broken without his hand. Without this going on, the human being, the person, the individual, has no power whatsoever. And so I, Daniel, fainted and was sick for certain days after I rose up and did the king's business. And I was astonished at the vision, but none understood it. This is number 27. 7, 8, 9 becomes a 9. That's where your leopard comes in. No one understands things. It's about confusion. Okay, and no one understood it. Well, I just told you that what you get out of this is that there is a strong hold to keep you from getting out of the 3 and staying away from the desolate area. There's a way they want to keep you dead. They want to keep you on their side. There's a lot of things that come against man to keep them from coming over on this other side. All right. So we're going to get into the next chapter, which is chapter 9. 9 is a conscious number. You're either going to be serving God or you're going to be serving something else. You're going to be serving something else, like a stranger or something. So what do we get out of here? 9's representing what is going on in our spiritual sense. And when you've got the isolation and desolation going on, you got nothing. All right. And listen how this thing starts off on a number 9. All right. In the first year of Darius, the son of such and such, of the seed of the Medes, which was made king over the realm of the Chaldeans. Well, do I have to go back? Oh, maybe for you guys that are new, the Chaldeans represent the demons and the robbers. And these are the people that represent who's in charge of the desolation, who is in the charge when the outside has rule over you and has dominion over you because you give it to them. That's the whole idea. All right, let's see what happens, because this is where 9 comes in. So it's not a good thing to have. This is about the Chaldeans. We've thrown our silver, which would be the second kingdom, into, which is our heart. We threw it to this outside through the sidewalk. So we've tossed our silver into the street. And so that's, going to the whore or going to the stranger. All right. Let's see, what have I pulled out of this one here? Desolation. This is a prayer. This winds up being a prayer that is put out by Daniel. And he's like confessing to his sin. He hasn't been doing this. He hasn't been doing that. Please forgive us and all this and such, and he's saying, please stop pouring out, take away your evil from Jerusalem. Let's see how it says, the desolation. Let's see how it reads. 2 in the first year, where it came to Jemiah. Well, there has to be 70 years in desolations of Jerusalem. There has to be 70 years. Well, that 7 represents till you can open up your chakras and do the works. All right. I have to say that because that's all I say. I'll be repeating myself all the time because that's what it tells me to do. All right. I set my face up into the Lord to seek prayer and supplication with fasting and sackcloth and ashes. That means to go into meditation. And I prayed unto the Lord my God, and my confessions, and this and that. I've sinned and committed iniquity. Neither have I hearkened to thy servants. This is on 6. All right. And the Lord of the righteous belongs to thee, but unto us confusion, faces, as this day, and the men of Judah, and the inhabitations of Jerusalem, and unto Israel, that are all near and far off, in the countries, whether this or that. They all have trespassed against thee. The whole world is transgressed against God. All right. O Lord, us belongeth unto the confusion of the face. That's 8, the control. The control means this idea that you just don't have any control. You're confusion. This is the leopard who occupies the 11, which is the physical person, the physical side of you, confusion. All right. So what do we get more? There's got to be more in here to read on. 9. 14. All right. Let's get past all this. Wham, wham, wham. Right? 14 is a 5, represents the body. Therefore has the Lord watched upon the evil and brought it upon us. For the Lord our God is righteous in all his works which he doeth. For we obey not his voice. You're supposed to, go in and talk to something else. All right. But anyways, and now, O Lord our God, that has brought its people forth out of the land of Egypt, and with his mighty hand, and has gotten thee renown, as to this day we have sinned, we have done wickedly. La 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 la. All right. What happens? I just want me to read this one too. And Lord, according to all thy righteousness, I beseech thee, let thine anger and thy fury be turned away from the city Jerusalem, thy holy mountain, because for our sins and because of our iniquities and because our fathers, Jerusalem and thy people are become a reproach to all that are about us. So please take this about. It really does. Everything about this outside business of Jesus and this holy land and making Jerusalem all this thing, bringing all this stuff. Oh, it's just awful. And so this is the idea that because of this, this idea that, I can't really, I can't believe in the Jews and the Jewish faith. None of them are doing what they're supposed to do. None of them are following the law. Not one of them are doing what the Bible tells them to do. I don't have any faith whatsoever in the Jewish people, all right? And neither do I have in the Christian world. Not one. Not one person, there's a few of you guys, but this idea is you needn't be carried around. I'm a Christian or I'm this or I'm that. You just say, I believe in God. It's just fine. 16. So he is begging for forgiveness. Let me in. Let me in, O Lord, O God. Let us in. Let us be a part of this. Lift this from us. Take this, allow this part of Jerusalem, which is the part of your mind. We can all talk about those that are down below, this idea that the Jerusalem, which is below on earth, is in bondage. All right. And there ain't no saving them. They'll always be that way because that's the Jerusalem. That's the way it is on the outside. Confusion. The leopard. What else do we get? Oh, Lord, hearken. 20. And whilst I was speaking, 20 represents 2, which is, you. This is the body, God. This would be him. It says, and while I was speaking and praying and confessing my sin and the sin of the people of Israel, presenting my supplication before the Lord my God for the holy mountain of my God. Yes, whilst I was speaking in prayer, the man Gabriel, and said, man, because he's speaking his prayer. All right. I told you, he's already on his way out. He's not made it over to the other side anymore. But Gabriel's yelling at him and trying to get him to understand. this is the way it's going to work for right now. And it says that by, let's see, 20, uh, 22. And he informed me and talked to me and said, "Oh, Daniel, I am now come forth to give thee skill and understanding. At the beginning of thy supplications, the command came forth, and I am come to show thee, for thou art greatly beloved. Therefore understand the matter and consider the vision. 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city to finish the transgression, and to make an end of sins, and to make reconciliation for iniquity, and to bring in everlasting righteousness, and to seal up the vision with the prophecy, and to anoint the most holy." This is 24. This represents a 6. So the works have to be done, and they are determined. They were already determined. Someone's already watching out for these things. This actually 70 weeks are determined upon the people. That means 7. You still got to get your works done. And of course, when it happens, you'll get this most high. And therefore, and understand that from going forth of the commandment to restore and build Jerusalem unto the Messiah, the Prince, shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. And the street shall be built again, and the wall, even in troublous times. Folks, this is a beautiful thing. They say in our Bible, this idea, I think they foreshadowed that right now is troubled times. And that this idea would be that if you went into the house or to you'd find a man carrying a pitcher of water. Well, he's talking about Aquarius. And so you're supposed to go up then. You can go in there, go into the upper room and sup with him. This is where he says he'll do this. All right. When he says the end of the world, it's really the end of time. End of time is when you've had enough. When you have had enough, this is, you go through this situation where now you can read the Bible correctly, sow the seed correctly, and now you could then symbolically kill yourself so you can make it over to this other side. But it says here, therefore, and understand that the kingdom will be rebuilt after the 7 is taken, when the 7 is taken away, or when you've done your works. This is a rebuilding of the temple. This is the idea that mother and father now come together and you're one whole thing, and you've got the little child in there as well. This is the rebuilding of the temple. Remember, this is the idea that this is desolate right now, and that needs to be rebuilt. God's left the building. He's not in a lot of people. And we're trying to get this to open up. We're trying to get the road built to get to this place. All right? That's just so cool, you guys. Are you listening to any of this? Or am I having a tough time getting over to you what it means? He says, so I shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. And in the midst of the week shall cause, in the midst of the week, on the 6th, in the midst of the week, not on the 3rd, in the midst of the week shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. And for the overspreading of abominations, he shall make it desolate, even until the consummation. And that determined shall be poured upon the desolate. This is when it comes about. He's talking about that this will be the day that everything is messing. There'll be something poured upon that. And of course, we know that. We read a couple of weeks ago from Revelations that there's one of the angels, one of the fourth angel, I think, pours out something into this desolate place and fixes it. It's just beautifully written. All right, so we're going to go on to Daniel 10. I don't care how long this is. We're going to pull out some of the important parts of Daniel 10. And what we get out of Daniel 10, whose name was called Balthazar, was mourning. When I lifted up my eyes. So here it starts up again, because he's going to have some kind of a dream. He meets some guy. He opens up his eyes on the fifth, and behold, a certain man clothed in linen, whose loins were girded with fine gold. And his body was like that of such and such. La la la. His eyes were like lamps of fire. His arms and his feet like the color of polished brass. And I, Daniel, alone saw the vision. For the men that were with me saw not the vision, but a great quake fell upon them, so that they fled to hide themselves. Well, this is great because men, representing the outside of us, have to go and flee. And on the 7th is when this is the Lord's day, and it usually comes with a crack of thunder or an earthquake. You know, it's like, you know. Anyways, he said, this is a dream. And therefore I was alone and saw this great vision, and it remained no strength in me. He says he has no breath in him. He's out of breath, and he has no strength. And in a deep sleep on his face, all right, and behold, a hand touched me, which set me upon my knees. And upon the palms my hand said to me, O Daniel, a man greatly beloved, understand the words that I speak unto thee. Stand upright, for unto thee am I now sent. And when he had spoken this word unto me, I stood trembling. Number 13. And said he unto me, fear not, Daniel, for from the first day that thou didst set thine heart to understand and to chasten themselves before God, thy holy words were heard, and I am come for thy words. But the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me, and 21 days. Lo, Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me, and I remained there with the kings of Persia. This is 13. 13 is the 4 in his war. This represents 4. So he was told that, he was being withheld. I'm being withheld, and I'm hanging out with Michael. So what he's doing is he's fighting the good fight for you while you're still in this slumber, while you're still, under this curse, the skin being under the curse. And when he had spoken so much words unto me, I set my face towards the ground, and I became dumb. And behold, like once similitude of the sun touched my lips, and I opened my mouth and spake unto him that stood before me. And, O Lord, of my vision, my sorrows have turned upon me, and I have retained no strength. For how can the servant of the Lord talk with my Lord? It says, number 17 is an 8. This is this idea of control. 17. For how can the servant of this my Lord talk with this my Lord? For as for me, straightway there remained no strength in me, neither is there the breath left in me. This is sad, guys. This guy, he's slowly dying. And the whole idea is that he's been made to go to sleep. And he has to sleep on purpose. It's raised the hairs on my arms when I talked about this just now. Because he's asking the Lord, how can this Lord not talk to you, Word? What's going to happen if this isn't here anymore? What's going to happen? Well, this is going to happen. That's what's chosen for us. All right. And then he then said, he knoweth that there come unto thee and then turn to flight, Prince of Persia, and I am gone. All right, so he's going to get someone or something to watch over him, but he's got to go back and fight with this Prince of Persia. He's got to go back, and I will show these. That this is actually, these things won't happen until this day. But I will show thee that which is noted in Scripture of truth, and there is none that holdeth with me in these things, but Michael, your prince. Well, and I can also tell you, here we go. Let's go into Daniel 11. We're getting to the end of the story. Also, I, in the first year, Darius and Mede, even I stood to confirm and to strengthen him. Looking at number 11. And a mighty king shall stand up and shall rule with great dominion and do according to his will. And when he will stand up, his kingdom shall be broken and shall be divided towards the four winds of heaven. For his kingdom shall be plucked up, and for others besides those. And the king of the south shall be strong, and the south and of his princes, and he will be strong above them. La, la, la. His dominion shall be a great dominion. And in the end years, this is 6. And in the end years, they shall join themselves together. For the king's daughter of the south shall come to the king of the north to make an agreement. But she shall not retain the power of the arm, neither shall he stand, nor his arm, but she shall be given up. And all right, so there's no power in your arm. This bigger thing that stood up before you is religion. This is the stranger. This is the woman. It's going to come from the lower. It's going to talk to the higher. It's going to talk to your heart. It's going to talk you into this. This is where the power comes from. This is what gives the beast its strength. All right. Let's see. What else have we got in here? Number 9. So the king of the south shall come into his kingdom and shall turn into his own land. This is talking about he's got to do battle. The way this is working out is these are the worlds working out. He's got to do battle with all these different things. And each one of these things is overridden and made to live for an extra season and a time. So it means until these works are done, all of these bad things are in here to gobble up anything good in you and to make you feel like shit. But let me tell you, it only those people that really believe in the Bible does do this to, because there are other people it just brings fear into them, but they don't really believe anything. And some people just, don't know anything about the Bible whatsoever and have it as just one big spooky thing going on in their lives that they know nothing about. Going on, we get to, and his son shall stir up, and the king of the south shall be moved with something, come forth and fight with them, even the king of the north. All right, 28. Let's get down to 28. So this idea, okay, give me 1 second. I know where I'm at. I did this on purpose. 28. These are so long. I just don't want to read them all. Then shall he return into his own land with great riches. His heart shall be raised again. So we had all of that first part was all the this is going to be this, and it's all like down. And then we get down here to the end of this thing here to 28. 8 is an 8 9:10. So we get a 1 out of this. Then shall he return into his land with great riches, and his heart shall be against the holy covenant, and shall do exploits, and return his own land. And return to his own land. He's going to come back with these riches, and his heart shall be against the holy covenant. He's not going to believe a damn thing about the chakra system. It's now going to be new age. These are this idea that, if you go inside yourself, you're going to it's something demonic going on. It's the Pope saying that you can't have a personal relationship with God. This is the Pope telling the masses, less than a year ago, that it's dangerous for anyone to have a one-on-one relationship with God. So, just think of the millions of billions of people that take what he says to heart, and believe it. Okay. All right. So let's go on. We're unraveling this. Number 31 is what it's trying to tell me to read. And arms shall stand on his part. This is a fourth. 31 is representing a fourth. So this I wrote down. Arms is the first part. This is what stands for you instead of using your chakra system and Jesus. All right. Where's this at again? Dun, 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 dun. Where did I get? Oh yeah, number 31 is a 4. And arms shall stand on his part, and they shall pollute the sanctuary of strength. That's the emotions. It's going to pollute this place. All right. It's going to take away the daily sacrifice, so you can't give yourself to this. All right. That's the third kingdom. And they shall place an abomination that maketh it desolate. The fourth one over here. That's 4, and that's number 31. Yeah, I got it. So it shows that you're going to be corrupted. The flatteries, everything that has to do with this outside thing. You're going to, everyone like, oh, it's so beautiful, all the gold and all this, and everyone's afraid. And so, well, that's what it's supposed to be. Now, when they shall fall, they shall be hoping with a little help, but many shall cleave to them with flatteries. 4, 5, 6, 7. So now when they shall fall, they shall be hoping with little help. That means you're not going to get no help. That's when people fall from the outside. This is the idea. You can't be saved from the outside. They might give you some food, might give you a little money, to help you out a little bit. But you're trying, when you do this correctly, you get helped out big time. You get back yourself, because taking handouts and taking this kind of help is not necessarily this idea of taking care of yourself and being your own boss. All right. It's the idea of maybe you're taking advantage of some goodliness out there. And the king shall do according to his will. All right. Neither shall regard God's father's desire for women, nor regard for any God. Just because he magnifies himself above all. Well, that's what happens when you worship the Father. You're worshiping the skin. He's a father. You're worshiping this without even knowing it. You're worshiping the material side of you, Let's see. Is there any more on this? Number 36. It looks like it told me to read 36. And the king shall do according to his will. Oh, yeah, that's one I just finished with. Okay. We have number 39. Thus shall he do in the most strongholds of the strange God, whom he shall acknowledge with increase with glory. He shall cause them to rule over many, and shall divide the land for gain. This is the idea that this kingdom shall be divided, and he do it for gain, because this side, the left side of you, is out to take advantage of you. It takes away your God, and you're no longer able to be taken care of when they're put together. So this is the idea of 39. He shall cause them to rule over many, and shall divide the land for gain. All right. And number 45, let's see what we get out of that one. And he shall plant in the tabernacle of his palace between the seas. And all right, so there's this idea that someone's going to come up, and we're going to change this thing. We got to come and change. This is 5, number 45, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Becomes a 9. So this larger consciousness, and he shall plant the tabernacle of his palace between the seas in the glorious holy mountain, yet he shall come to his end, and none shall help him. To turn this 9 around, to turn 11, well, to turn everything around. This idea is that you have to plant yourself between these two things. And he shall plant the tabernacles of his palace between the seas in the glorious holy mountain, yet he shall come to his end, and none shall help him. This will show you that when you come to your end, there's no one, there's no religion, there's no preacher, there's no synagogue, there's no anyone, there's nothing attached, there's no bus to ride. You do it all by yourself, the whole kit and caboodle, the whole thing. Because when you come about this idea, you'll find that tabernacle represents that seat. That's the mercy seat that you sit on there between the holy mountain. This is the tabernacle. This is the place. This is where you build your house on stone, so that you can take what happens. You can take the weathering. That's where this saying comes from. This number 45, representing a 9. So if you can build your house on stone, which is using the pineal gland to change your world and to build your world on high ground, that's what it is. It's actually bringing you to the middle ground, because you're between the two. You represent the third. There's always in the third. They're always talking about 3, right? So here we are. We got down to the last part of this. This is chapter 12. It really goes by pretty fast, this last part. And it says, and in that time, this is this idea that when that one person, when he's done it and he's standing up and he is now on his own, he has brought himself to this part of understanding. And then number 12, Daniel 12, is this idea of hooking up or not hooking up with God. All right, this is the joining of God. And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which standeth for all the children of thy people. And there shall be time of trouble, such as never was since in the nation. And from that time, remember, this is in the stories you'll hear. There was never anything like this. It was a great battle, and there was nothing ever happened in the world before like this, and nothing will happen since after that. So this is in your world. You know, you had turbulence, something happens. Maybe you're tossed out of the car or something like that. Your whole world has been turned upside down to this quake and this rocking and stuff, which is what the last story started to talk about. You know, it's like, you know, we're going through the processes here, you know, and no man was able to do it, but the Spirit could do it. Daniel's Spirit. It says, and many of them that sleep in the dust in the earth shall wake, some to everlasting life, and others to shame and everlasting contempt. This is 2 talking about who's going to wake up. Who's going to wake up? Huh? And they that are wise will shine as the brightness of the firmament. And they that turn many to righteousness as the stars forever and ever. But thou, O Daniel, shut up thy words and seal the book, even to times to the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. This is on number 4. Now, when they talk about running to and fro, this is generally the people that they're running up and down the bank of the river. They're not getting any further than the 6th chakra. Remember, that's before you get to the water, that's the 6th. All right. And O Daniel, shut up thy words and seal the book. And I, Daniel, looked, and behold, there stood over to the one on its side of the bank of the river, and the other on that side of the bank of the river. And one said to the man clothed in linen, which was upon the water of the river, how long shall it be to the end of these wonders? And I heard the man clothed in linen, and he sat upon the waters of the rivers, and he held up his right hand and his left hand unto heaven, and swear by him that liveth and forever, shall be for times and a half. And then he shall accomplish to scatter the power of thy holy people, and these shall be finished. This is that idea at the end when Jesus looks up and says it is finished. There's a lot of times we say it is finished because they're the same stories. And I heard, but I understood not. Then I said, O my Lord, what shall be the end of these things? And he said, go on. He goes, go thy way, Daniel. For the words are closed up and sealed till the times of the end. Many shall be purified and made white, tried, but the wicked shall go do wickedly. And none of the wicked shall understand, but the wise shall understand. But from time the daily sacrifice shall be taken away, and the abomination that maketh desolate is set up, there shall be 1,290 days. 1,290 days. Those are the same numbers. You got to trud over 6. You got to do your works. Blessed is he that waiteth and cometh to the 1,305 and 30 days. There, it's the same thing to get to number 9. But go thy way till the end be, and thou shalt rest, and stand in the lot at the end of days. Damn, you guys, that is just absolutely beautiful. All right, so that was mastering the book of Daniel. All right, and it's a really long one. It's a very long one. I've never done one this long before. It's too late to chop it all up. I don't know how to do all that. So what we're getting out of the book of Daniel is that we have no, we're not connected to the Lord until we do our works. And one of the ways you can see or feel that you are connecting or getting there or being close to being connected to this other side is learning how to read the Bible correctly. So this is one of the ways that brings us closer to God, is by at least finally understanding what he's saying. It's very important indeed. All right. So hang around with us. We've got more to talk about. I got more to unveil. But right now, amongst a good number of our friends out there in the world, God's not with them. Not in any way. And so if you want to kind of like help someone along this idea, like I say, I hear when someone says that that they've been saved. I've been saved. I have been saved. You know how I know? Because I read the Bible correctly, and I sowed my seeds by using the way of Jesus and honoring mother and father. And while I do this, miraculously, not so miraculously, I was led in to this other side. God opened his door for me and revealed all these wonderful secrets. And I share them with you. So this is how you find. You say, how did you get saved? How did you get saved? And they tell you like a preacher touched them or something happened, did they get hit on the head? But unless they tell you that, I showed up on God's doorstep as a little child, as a little baby, do you know what that means? That means you came through to him in child as a spirit and you supped with him. If they say that they heard and talked and brought back good news or bad news, you'll know that that didn't happen because we're not privileged to this. We just know that we're connected. We know because we went up there and we did the works. And you can tell because we understand God's word now. If any part of you believe in any part of this outside, that's folly. Not one bit of it is true. Not one bit of it. But it does really exist inside of you. All right. I love you guys. I truly do. Got more work for you. Things are getting clearer every day. Love you.